Okay, I want to get you ready for the little quiz you're going to have in class in like 10 minutes. So be ready. This is just a homework quiz. It's only in the 15% category. The big one, the real one, is happening tomorrow, and that's in the 85% category. And that's what you've been getting ready for this whole time. It's on recursive sequences. Here is one. U sub 1 equals 10. U sub n equals U sub n minus 1. You do not have to write this down. And then go 1.5 right there. Now, there's a few things you should be able to tell me about that. First of all, what was the starting amount? 10. Is it growing or decaying? What growth rate is it? 50%. And the way you could say that is you could write these as 1 plus something or 1 minus something. Any number in the world can be written as 1 plus something or 1 minus something. So that's 1 plus 0.5, and that tells me it's 50% growth. All right, next thing. If I were to project this out and say, what's the fifth term, would it be smart for me to start with U sub 1 or U sub 0? U sub 1, because if I'm going to talk terms, I should use like U sub 1. If I'm going to talk about a real-world problem that's not like terms, maybe it's like money and how much money do you have in the second year, then you should start with U sub 0. One other thing, this is missing something important, this little formula. What's it missing? Domain. The domain on this thing is n is greater than or equal to, what in this case? 2. Because you always want to be 1 bigger than whatever that is. All right. Next, I want you to write me one of these for this situation that I give you. Then you'll need to put it in your calculator. Okay. And I'm going to pause for a second. All right, so here is a real-world scenario I want you to put into the calculator and write a formula for me. This will tell whether or not you're getting this. All right, so I have a picture here in the classroom that I'm going to show you. You can't see it on home in the video. That's all right. It's just a picture of a great big rock with a tree growing on just right on the top of it. Just kind of imagine how hard it was for this tree to get going. Where does it get its water supply? It's on the top of a big, huge rock. Yes?
Water is stored in sandstone.
Interesting. So the water comes from the sandstone? False.
Oh, no, it doesn't come from the
There you go. Comes from the sky and is stored in the sand. So what you're saying is sandstone is a good, it stores the water well.
Yes.
Okay. So if maybe there's some sandstone that caused this thing to be able to store some water up. So when it rains, it can actually like keep the water. Otherwise, water would just run off the rock. All right, anyway. So this little tree is a good example of surviving in a tough environment. Imagine that there are some little animals that are not so good at surviving in a tough environment. Like right now, a lot of people are worried about the polar bears because their ice floes are melting. And there's some debate about all of that, but one thing that is absolutely positive is that in Florida, the raccoons are having a hard time surviving. Do you know why?
Alligators.
It's not the alligators. It is the snakes. Do you know why? Because over the years, quite a few people have bought pythons, brought them home when they were small and lovable. I don't know how a snake is ever small and lovable, but anyway. And then they've grown to be massive, and they start getting worried that they're going to wake up in the middle of the night with a snake around their neck, because they are pythons. That's what they do. They strangle things for a living. And so they get to be big, and they're too, they don't want to kill the thing. That seems too ruthless. It's been their pet, right? So what do? Well, of course, you just release it into the swamp. And so now the swamp down in Florida is filled with pythons that aren't native to that place. So even just like 20 years ago, there was this pretty healthy population of little small furry animals in the Everglades. Lots of bunnies and raccoons, etc. And now they seriously they're doing their counts per acre, and they're coming up with like 0.2 of a bunny per acre, where there used to be like 20. Yes, bunnies multiply like crazy, but they're getting cut down dramatically because these pythons are eating them. So let's talk about a decay problem. Let's say that there are currently 400 raccoons left in the Everglades. And let's say it's going down. This is where you write the formula. So engage brain, engage iPad. So there's 400 left right now in the year 2012. Let's say in February is when they, like right now, is when they do the count. Okay? What will there be if it decreases 5% per year? How many will there be in the next election year, which would be 2016, 4 years from now? Also the next leap year. Did you know those go together? Leap years and election years go together. So this year we got February 29th, right? So 400 of them going down 5%. 5% per year. Don't say it, please just write it. And use your calculator. Once you've got your formula written, make sure that it's quality, that it is like good enough that you could have it graded and not worry about anything being missing. And I want to know in the next election year, 2016, how many raccoons should there be left? There's 400 right now. Going down 5% per year. It is currently the year 2012. And so you have several options for this now. You could start with u sub 0, and that's probably a good way to do it. But did anybody do something different? Yes? U sub 2012. That works. Either way is okay. But if you start with u sub 1, you will probably get it wrong. All right. I'll show you why in a minute. So if we say there's 400 now, and then we have this part which is always there, and then we have what in there? 1 minus point, it was going down 5%, which is 0.05. If a kid said, I want to type in 0.95 instead, is it going to work the same? Yes, it will. 0.95 is okay. But this is better because it shows me that it's 5% decay. And then is my domain right? No. Greater than or equal to 1. Raise your hand if you had that part right. Okay, good. Next part is put it in the calculator and actually look at the chart and see if you can tell what it will be in 2016. Now, the cool part about using u sub 2012 is that your chart looks like this. In 2012, there's 400 raccoons. In 2013, there are less than that, 380, what is it? 80, okay. And in 2014, there's 361, and then in 2015, there is 343. And then in 2016, round it for me, 326, thank you. Now, do you get that if you started with the dates, it's really easy to tell when 2016 comes around? What if you started with u sub 0? U sub 0, u sub 1, u sub 2, u sub 3, u sub 4. Does that make sense? Remember, I'm saying u sub 4 because it's a subscript. Do you get how this is still going to make sense? U sub 4 is the 4th year. It's in 2016. That's all making sense. But see what happens when you start with the wrong thing? If you start with u sub 1 here, u sub 1, u sub 2, u sub 3, u sub 4, u sub 5, you're not going to think about that. You're just going to like go, oh, the 4th year's right here. And it's not. It's not 4 years later. Okay, that's only 3 years later. So anyway, bottom line is that you need to be careful how you number it, because if you pick the wrong thing, you'll get the wrong date. And if you're not sure, there's one on your formative that you're taking. You're taking a little Skyward formative in a few minutes here. There's one on that that's going to be like tricky. You got to like, maybe you should count it out. Maybe you should look at your chart and count it out. Okay, this is the 1st week. This is the 2nd week. This is the 3rd week. Otherwise, just start with the right thing, and the answer works out really nice. All right. Any questions on that? That kind of covers everything in a nutshell in one problem that you basically need to know up till now. You're first with a question. Yes?
How do you type in your documents that you have the year
All right, it's really simple. If you want to put this in the calculator using the year thing, then up here it was 2012, right? That's the number that's the very first thing on your calculator. The very first line of the calculator should say 2012. That's the only thing you really got to do different. And then on your chart, when you go to your chart, you got to make sure you get to 2012, right? So when you're on your chart, you got to say table settings. Here, I'll open up my calculator here to show you. You want to go to table settings and move it to 2012. All right, we have been doing this long enough now that you should be able to handle this. That you know, switching it to the year is a pretty smart thing sometimes. All right, so let me show you how I do that. I go to y equals, and again, if I wanted to put in the year 2012 is going to be my starting term, then I'm not starting with a 0. I'm starting with a 2012. 2012, and then I go to 1 minus point, I'm going to go with 5%. Yeah, awesome, it's already in there. And then I start with 400 rabbits. Now the only complication is if I go to my table right now, my table probably isn't defaulted to start at the year 2012. If I go to my table, it starts at the year 0 and the year 1 and the year 2. So I go to table settings, which is right above the window thing. I change that to 2012, 2012, and I hit enter, and then I go to the table again, and now it brings me to the right spot in the table. See what I'm saying? All right, so that's pretty handy for solving real world problems if they give you a date, like a year. Okay. Now, what this is all leading to is that we're going to eventually get you to look up college costs. Most of you guys are probably going to end up going to college. We have literally 90, I don't even know what the percent is, but it's like 95% of kids from Minnetonka will go on to college right after high school. It's a very high percent, I know. And that means that there's some cost involved with that. Now, sometimes people feel like they can't afford it, but there's a lot of programs that you can do if you feel like your family can't afford it. My son's actually thinking about one of them, and that is to go into the military. And you don't have to be like a person in the military who, you know, runs around with a gun and shoots people. There's a lot of jobs in the military. And you don't have, so if you're not into that kind of thing, you don't want to be G.I. Joe, but you are interested in being in the military, there are a lot of jobs that are technical kind of jobs. There's like engineers, you know, that kind of stuff. And if you're capable of being in the military, they'll pay for your college. It's like free. You come out with no debt. It's a pretty cool deal. And sometimes it depends on the program. Some of the military programs will only pay for your tuition, but then you can get scholarships to pay for like your room, you know, as part of the deal. They pay you a monthly thing for being in the military. You can even go in the military and be a doctor. If you think, oh, I could never be a doctor, I can't afford that, the military will pay for all your doctor training. Yes?
So if you go to like Navy for like 4 years and then if you graduate, you have to, if you graduate, you have to do like 5 years of like service, but all your education fees are like waived.
Yep. That's the same. It's the same kind of thing I'm talking about. It depends on the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. They have different programs, but there's ways you can get it paid for that way. Sometimes it's just if your family does not make enough money, you can get really cheap tuition. Like you can apply to St. Olaf, and if you're a really good student, St. Olaf's tuition is normally $50,000. They might say for you it's going to be $20,000, and we'll let you take a loan for that. So like they can make it happen. So moving on. If we're going to actually do the loan thing, we can do that with a recursive formula, and I'm going to show you that soon, but not today. Yes?
I was going to say like the military,
The military pays a certain amount, and if you go to some colleges, it won't pay the whole amount. So, but if you just, like, I want to go to college, they'll get you to a college, but they may not pay for some of them. Like even Harvard right now has a deal for tuition. You pay 10% of your income. That's not military based at all. It's just you pay 10% of your income to go there. So if your parents only make, let's say they're a teacher and they make $40,000 a year, that's a pretty average teacher salary, then literally you'd pay $4,000 a year to go to Harvard.
Really?
Really.
Should give you like 4 points, like 12 4 points.
You have to be a very, very strong student to get into Harvard, yes. That's exactly why they're doing it, because they want the absolute best students to apply there. And that way they get, like, let's say they get 100,000 people to apply, and they're only going to have, like, 1,000 kids that they admit. Then they get to pick the best of the best of the best. And then pretty soon Harvard has this amazing group of people that are like near geniuses graduating from there. So how do they pick? They pick, to some extent, here's one of the things that they look for the most. Do you really care about learning? If you're just trying to jump through the hoops, they don't really want you. If you are like curious, I really want to learn this. I want to learn, you know, you really have an inquiring mind. That's what they're looking for. If you're just, and not everybody is that way. Some of you are just like trying to get through this because I have to do this, so I'm just going to do it. Okay, but if you want to go to Harvard, they're looking for people that are really, really want to know, and it bothers them if they can't figure it out. If you have an inquiring mind, then they're the kind of place that wants you. Obviously, it's not just Harvard. There's a lot of really good schools that have the same kind of qualities, like Yale, Harvard. Amherst is one of the big ones. What are the Dartmouth? What are the other Ivy League ones? Stanford. Yep, it's a big one. Brown is one of them. MIT is not Ivy League, I don't think, are they? MIT is big time, but I don't know if they're Ivy or not. Okay. Anyway, we'll do a lot more of that college stuff later. So now let's get back to your notes, and there's this greenish page. Please get on that one. Greenish page. Okay. Now look at those points. 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 5, 4, 7, 5, 9. Do you get how the left side of it just goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That's like the term. Like term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4, term 5. See what I'm talking about right here. Term 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And the next ones are the actual numbers that are in that series. Like, I'll use a different color for that. Let's go with green. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So those are going up at a different rate. Well, one of them is like the x and one's like the y. Except on these graphs you don't have x and y. You have n and u sub n. The x is like the n and the y is like the u sub n. All right, so if I make a list here, you see how 1, 1 was on my list? It was right there. The very first term they give you is giving you the first point. And if they start with u sub 1, then the next term they're going to go to logically is u sub 2. And u sub 2 will be, well, you follow this little formula to figure it out. 2 more. So I take the 1, add 2 to it, and I get 3. And here's my point, 2, comma 3. Get what I'm saying? So if you want to make a list of the points, it's just making a list of the terms. So add a blank page, please. Insert. And if I give you this formula, you don't have to write this down. I just want you to tell me what are the first 4 terms and put them in points. Something, comma, something. Something, comma, something. Get what I'm saying? All right. And u sub n minus 1, and let's do, put a 2 there. When they ask you, are you going to say that that's 200% growth? No. What is it? 100% growth. Because it's like 1 plus 1 makes 2. And that part's the growth part. All right, so your first term, I hope you realize, was 1 comma 20. Right? ES, front row. What's the next term? 2 comma 40. What's the next term? 3 comma 80. And the last one? 4 comma 160. You get that? Do you see how I could graph those really easy? And remember, what you're graphing is n. Remember, this little number that's down here, that's the n number. See, it's the n number. And the u sub n is this other thing. So you're not graphing x and y, you're graphing n and u sub n. And then if you graph them, things that are in a straight line like this Do you think those are arithmetic, where you add each time or subtract each time? Or is it geometric, where you multiply? This kind, is it add or is it multiply? It's the add kind. You add a negative number, in fact, in this case, to make it go down. This kind is the multiply kind. So this kind is arithmetic. This one's geometric. So if it's curving, it's geometric. All right, we're kind of packing in 2 lessons at once today because tomorrow a lot of kids are going to miss the lesson. So I'm teaching it today. So tomorrow will be just kind of like a work day. Because why are they missing the lesson? Because you remember that thing first hour? Yeah. You guys are going to, a lot of kids are going to miss it for that. And so I taught both things in one today. So this way we're good for like 2 days. The test is tomorrow, and they're going to miss it. They're going to have to take it the next day. You know what I'm saying? So you guys will be actually ahead a day compared to them. Yes? This is second hour math. I think you mean first hour? Yes, I do. I have first hour HA9. So, okay. So if I showed you a graph, can you tell from that? Is it arithmetic or geometric? Is it growth or decay? Growth. Good. If you saw this on the test, arithmetic or geometric? And is it growth? All right. So it was adding each time instead of subtracting each time. Or adding a positive instead of adding a negative. All right. If you had this one, describe the graph. Generally, sketch it on your iPad. Write down. Just take a little sketch with your finger. Is it going to be one of those ones that curve up or curve down, or is it going to go straight line up or straight line down? I hope you know it started at about 8, so maybe you don't start at 0. You start like there, and then what's it going to do? It's going up, right? Curving up. Yep. Should have done a curve up. Does that make sense? Starts at 8, goes up. What was the growth rate, by the way? 50%. Now the domain is also known as the x's. What are the x's, though, on a graph like this? The n's. Because domains are down here. And we don't have an x and a y now. We have an n, and we have a u sub n. And it says, list the first 5 points. Well, I know the first one's 8, and it's 1 comma 8, though. The next point on the graph would be 2 comma, and it goes up by 50%. Can you do that in your head? 12. Very good. That's the first 2 points. The next point would be 3 comma 18, I think. It's so on. In the back corner, yes. Why is the domain n? Because it's the domain is normally the x's. In this case, there aren't any x's. What is like x? The n's are. Domain are the numbers that you put in. Whenever I ask you like a question like, what's the 4th term? I'm really asking, what's this? If that's a 4. And then you tell me the answer, and the answer is like, 37 or whatever. Okay, so this is the domain part. And this part then is technically called the range, but we don't usually ask you that. Now, the domain of this is n, and do you see how that kind of fits in? So n are the things that are the x's, and do we have any restrictions on the domain? Yes. N has to be greater than or equal to 2. So when they're asking what's the domain, they're not just asking what are the things that you put in are called, they are the n's. They're also asking what is the restriction on the domain. All right. So whenever we've had these formulas, that's the thing the kids are most likely to forget right there. And it is called the domain. And it also reminds you that the x's are the same as the n's in this case. All right. So really, these aren't that complicated. Let's look at this page and we'll match a few. This is a big matching page. This first one, I'm going to grab your highlighter. Find your yellow highlighter. That one. goes with, can anybody figure it out? Is it A, B, C, D, E, or F in the little formulas? Well, it starts with 8, so it's got to either be A or B. It's B. Now, I know some of you might be like, wait a minute, it goes down from 8 to 4 and then from 4 to 1. Did you notice it's skipping a term in there? It's kind of cheating. Goes down 0 to 1, and then it should be going down to a 2, but it skips down to a 3. So basically, if you had the extra missing term, it would have been 2 goes with 2. And then it would make more sense. 8 down to 4, 4 down to 2, 2 down to 1. See how it's cutting in half every time? And that's why this formula works with it. Which graph would that be? It's the one that has 0, 8 on it. There's only one on the whole thing. Oh, wait, there's 2. There's either this one or there's this one that start at 0, 8. And I know this one is geometric, so it's got to be curving, so you're right, it's 4. Very good. I just want you to do the next one and do it in green. So like now I want you to go grab the green highlighter and say this one and figure out what it goes with. Well, that one's pretty easy. 0 goes with 0.5. The only one that starts that way is this one, right? Do you see that right away? Okay. And then which graph starts at 0, 0.5? It looks like 3 starts with 0, -2. And that's not it. Yes. I bet you it's this one. And does it also make sense that it's curving? Yeah, because this has got a 2 in the... It's multiplying everything by 2, which is geometric, so it should be curving. So, get how that works? All right, now you've learned basically a couple days worth of material. You have a review worksheet for tonight. Tomorrow's homework will be the other worksheet. There's 2 things listed on Schoology that are already posted. The first one is the review for the quiz, which is tomorrow. That one's your homework that you have to do tonight. I would encourage you to start the other one if you got the time, because it's fresh in your mind now. But it's not really due until the next day. Okay? So the only thing you really have to do tonight at home is the worksheet that says review. What you should do right this minute is go to Skyward and take the formative assessment. Well, it's all fresh in your mind. I like to do the little warm-up like this so that when you take the formatives, you do well. Last hour I had lots of 7 out of 7s. And I warned you there's one tricky question. You got to read it carefully.